So I just watched Deadpool and Wolverine, and here's my review. It's pretty good, it's fun, and it's entertaining, but it's not single-handedly saving the MCU, and it doesn't touch Spider-Man No Way Home. It's a solid 8 out of 10, and it's perfectly fine, but it's not amazing. Dare I say, it's actually a bit contrived, and there's definitely some wasted potential. That might sound negative, but I still like the movie and absolutely recommend it to any Marvel fan. I just can't guarantee the average moviegoer is gonna like the movie. But let's cut to the chase. Why don't I love it? Well, let's start with the story. I'll try not to spoil too much, but the plot is pretty basic and kind of predictable. There were a couple of points in the movie where the characters got out of a sticky situation in a super cliche way. This is actually something that the movie sort of has in common with No Way Home in some respects, because I do think that movie has some minor contrivances to make the plot move more conveniently, but I think it's more prevalent in Deadpool and Wolverine. In particular, No Way Home's conflict is resolved with genuine sacrifice, and as a result is several magnitudes more impactful than this movie's ending. Also, because of the plot's structure, a lot of the movie feels like it's just moving from fanservice moment to fanservice moment. Of course, on one hand, that's what we signed up for, right? Like, that's the movie. But on the other hand, it would be nice if there was a little bit more to it. I'm gonna keep bringing up No Way Home because I think that's the gold standard of multiverse movie right now. We get to see all of the Spider-Mans interact and fight their villains, which is obviously cool, but there's more to it than that. Those interactions have meaning. When Tobey Maguire stops Tom Holland from killing the Green Goblin, we feel something. When Tobey talks to Doc Ock, we feel something. This movie feels like it's just throwing things at you by comparison. Look, it's a Wolverine variant. Look, Deadpool and Wolverine are fighting. Don't get me wrong, it's fun as hell, but we've definitely seen better. Even some of the character interactions that are supposed to feel impactful fall a little bit flat. But this is also due to some lackluster character work, which I'll get into. As far as characters go, I think Cassandra Nova is kind of an undercooked villain. She has a good on-screen presence, she's menacing, but I just don't find her interesting. She doesn't have a compelling backstory or sympathetic motivations. The other main characters are fine, Deadpool is surprisingly pretty developed, and the TVA guy is a lot of fun, if a bit cartoonish. I think my biggest disappointment is actually Wolverine. Look, it's awesome that Hugh Jackman is back, but he's honestly pretty stale in this movie. He's trying his best here, but the writing betrays him. I get that Wolverine's grumpy, and this particular Wolverine is supposed to have a checkered past, but he's a little too grumpy here, to the point of almost being one note. He did it well in Logan, so it's not Hugh Jackman's fault. I think I blame the director. Some of his line delivery just comes off as kind of weird as well, and he's always making that face. The other issue is that this Wolverine's backstory is actually very simple. A little too simple if this is supposed to be the worst Wolverine variant. Like, it's really not as dark as they made it out to be. His present behavior and reputation is disproportionate with his history. We also never get to visually see what happened in any way, even though there was ample opportunity to show us something in the movie, even a glimpse, which would have greatly enhanced the character. Luckily, Hugh Jackman is a great actor, so we can experience it through his emotions, but only to an extent. Honestly, a lot of these issues are because he's a variant. If they just pulled the real Wolverine from a point in time before Logan, then he'd be way more three-dimensional. That's basically what No Way Home did, and it worked beautifully. I don't think I like this variant approach to multiversal storytelling. Like, I don't know this guy, he just looks the same. I think the Deadpool and Wolverine dynamic isn't at full potential either. It's great to see them together, but I was expecting more variety. Like, I figured Deadpool would be super into Wolverine, but they actually just both kinda hate each other. Most of the movie was them bickering, and it's fun, but in the way it's executed it gets a little old. Which is a shame considering Deadpool and Wolverine is the entire premise of the movie. This problem bleeds out of the Wolverine character issues a bit, so at the very least I think both characters just need an attitude adjustment. For Wolverine specifically, I think, well, this is sort of getting into spoiler territory, so skip ahead to here if you haven't seen the movie yet. Alright, going back to Wolverine character issues, I think a more interesting backstory would be if he was a variant from a branched timeline of the Fox movies. They leave it pretty vague here, but like I said, I don't really feel any connection nor sympathy for this Wolverine and his backstory. I'm not a writer, but I think a more interesting backstory could be if he killed Charles, after Charles killed the X-Men in the Westchester incident, and from that guilt he started killing. Just seems more effective to me than having him out drinking one night. Anyway, since we're doing spoilers, let's talk cameos. I think it's super weird this movie's big cameos are actually just obscure characters. Like, this is not the X-Men No Way Home movie that some of us expected. I don't think most general audience people are recognizing anyone except X-23 and Blade. The fact that 2005 Human Torch and 2003 Elektra and 2000 Never Gambit are in this is crazy to me. I actually enjoyed these, especially Gambit and Blade, and Johnny was a pretty funny gag, but all of these cameos are pure spectacle with little substance, which works for this movie. But if Marvel is planning on keeping up this style of cameo for the entire saga, it's not gonna work. The only exception is X-23, since she had that nice scene with Logan, but like I said earlier, I think there was more they could have done with those two. Disney gets my props for letting Blade say a though. Okay, no more spoilers. So, I just spent the entire video listing personal grievances with this movie. So why am I giving it an 8 out of 10? Because it's still super entertaining and super funny. It's just not a 9 like No Way Home is. But that doesn't mean it's bad, it just means the full potential of the premise wasn't utilized. I'm just puzzled about why Marvel was so confident in this movie. But clearly I'm in the minority here because this movie is doing very, very well, which is great. I'm glad it's doing well, but it feels like a hollow victory. You know, when Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was coming out during an MCU low point, or something like Loki Season 2, we were worried, but they came out and we all agreed they were great. With this movie, it's getting that treatment without actually being great. Wow, I almost want to bring it down to 7 now. Okay, moving on, I promise I like this movie. It makes me a little sad that we couldn't get a better movie with a more robust story, but I still enjoyed seeing Deadpool and Wolverine together. The choreography in this movie is solid, and the comedy is truly great. Deadpool having the ability to talk about Fox and Disney and the MCU makes for some hilarious lines, so ultimately Deadpool and Wolverine is saved by being a Deadpool movie. This also has a secondary meaning. Since it's a Deadpool movie, the plot just doesn't really matter that much. In Deadpool movies, the comedy is the most important thing, and everything else is essentially just a vehicle to deliver that to us. So the movie has a license to be kinda stupid. If you're expecting this movie to be a clever satirical commentary about the current state of superhero movies and the perils of multiversal storytelling, then temper your expectations because this movie commits every sin that it supposedly makes fun of. It's the biggest multiversal slog that Marvel has ever produced, and I had fun, but that's all it is. I hope Marvel feels the same way though, because if this is what they truly consider a great multiverse story, then we're in for a rough saga. Or maybe they're really done with the multiverse after this. Maybe we'll never see a variant of Tony Stark in any movie. Never mind.